This week on the Legion Clubhouse, who the heck is Laurel Gand?
They were the heroes from the future. Teenagers protecting the universe from those that would sow the seeds of chaos. Each had unique powers and abilities. And though they often had their differences, they came together to save the day as the Legion of Superheroes. Now, you can be a part of their adventures and learn the history of the future in the Legion Clubhouse.
We are well into the deep confusion, into the deep cuts, Matthew, of the 5 year later Legion.
Later.
I will say there are a couple of things. The cover to issue 6, pretty gross, where all the torsos of the Legion members are on the fingers like finger puppets of this mysterious character that they fight throughout this issue. Kind of disturbing. I mean, yes, because I don't know who this guy is.
It's Mordru.
No, that is that's the vampire guy, the guy in the shadows.
Is it? He doesn't wear a shirt. I thought that was Mordru's.
Mordru wears blue robes. This guy wears purple.
Oh, okay. He sucks, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know who is this vampire guy that they're fighting. He never gets a name, and he never gets a face. And I don't know if it's because Giffen is pressed for time, and he's like, we don't need mouths, we don't need eyeballs. Heck, this guy doesn't even need a face.
His name is, I always have pronounced it Vrykos. It's Vrykos.
Okay.
But he's one of the things.
He doesn't get named in this issue, does he?
Briefly, yes, because early on, when they're like, okay, well, we have these Legionnaires, and Mordru says, bring me Vrykos.
Okay.
But yeah, he is, interestingly, at one point, according to the Amazing Heroes interview that came out before issue 1 of volume 4, he was going to be a Legionnaire. They were going to use the Magic Wars to be, okay, there's now magical Legionnaires, and they were going to have Vrykos be an actual vampire Legionnaire.
But they already had magical Legionnaires.
Right, but this guy would be a vampire.
Uh-huh.
And his face is always in shadow because he's a vampire.
I didn't know if he was an Eclipso casualty or not.
There are no Eclipsos at this point.
There might be. We don't know. They're always lurking around. No. You don't know what the Time Trapper is doing.
Eclipso was wiped out by the Crisis and does not come back until 1991.
Well, we're still trying to clean up the mess from the Crisis over these 2 issues, especially if you read the back matter stuff where they're talking. I don't think it's in this issue. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. No, it is in this issue in the back matter where they talk about how Mon-El was trapped in not the Phantom Zone, but the
Bug-Tussilian buffer
zone. Yeah, whatever. Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
So, they're still trying to clean up that mess here.
They are. And there's actually, I don't know if the version that you read has the letter column. But the letter column,
so. I skip a bunch of stuff. If I see a wall of text, I'm like, hey, I'm here for comic books, not for prose. I've got a whole other podcast that's just about books.
You're going to be upset next issue.
Oh, but, I am.
In issue 6, in the back matter, somebody complains about, oh no, how this happened. And they say in, the very, I don't know, we have to be extremely diplomatic about this. We're like, no one is really happy about how this happened. And it was due to forces beyond our control.
Over on the Major Spoilers Discord server, which listeners, if you haven't joined it, you need to join it. You can join it for free. We have a Legion Clubhouse channel. And where does it say where they're talking about one of the changes? This is, I think, Jimbo Fett. One of the changes of 5 years later, according to Tom's blog, is that because of these retcons, the team didn't get to tell the story they wanted and made these retcon stories to get back to the point as best they could. That added issues and arguably slowed momentum.
I would agree, because this issue, the first issue of our episode tonight, is issue 6, which picks up where issue 3 dropped off.
Pretty much, yeah.
So essentially, we had 2 issues in there that, don't get me wrong, they were pretty great.
Yeah, I liked them.
But they definitely kind of messed up the momentum of this story, because you pick up this story and it feels like we're halfway into, and we literally are halfway into the first year of the book. They're still introducing new characters. They're introducing Celeste, who's intended at this point to be a major part of the new Legion team.
I don't know if she will be, but she's a detective on Earth, and her name is Celeste Rockfish. And the joke is, this is a deep, deep, deep cut. You would have to know a 1970s TV show called The Rockford Files, in which James Garner played Detective Jim Rockford, who was accused of a crime he didn't commit and spent time in the penitentiary before he was released. When he was in the penitentiary, one of his cellmates was Gandalf Gandy Fitch, played by, what the heck is his name? Hold on. Isaac Hayes, played by Isaac Hayes. Okay.
Oh,
and so,
really?
Gandy shows up in one episode, and I think they were trying to make it a backdoor pilot, but he shows up in one of the episodes, and he always calls Rockford Rockfish. And Rockford, and he says it because he knows that it annoys Rockford. And so in the beginning of this, Sunboy keeps calling Celeste Rockford, and she goes, I keep telling you my name is Rockfish. Rockfish, that's the whole story about that Rockfish thing going on there. That's kind of a deep cut for 1990 to be referencing a 1970s. Granted, it was a very popular detective show from the 1970s, but specifically that character and that one episode, or actually 2 or 3 episodes that Isaac Hayes appeared on. But that's like kind of a deep cut.
It is. And it's interesting in this issue that we see Sunboy ostensibly working for EarthGov, hiring Celeste to track down Roxas, who was freed by EarthGov without his knowledge. And it basically, it shows us almost immediately that Dirk is just kind of a witless pawn. But also one of his first lines is, you were so helpful when you investigated that paternity suit. I'm just like, oh, God.
I mean, doesn't surprise. It's not surprising that he would be involved in a paternity suit, right?
I mean, he's embracing the occupation. He's basically become the face of, this of new
quote unquote humans. Yeah.
Right. And he's like, oh yeah, I was a hero, Sunboy. But he's just this hedonistic dirtbag. Literally spends half the issue flirting with Celeste, and it's just so creepy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so creepy.
And so the ploy to get back, initially the Legion is there on Tharn to rescue Misa,
White Witch.
And they've come to find out, they discover that the Green Lantern is also there. But the plan is for Cosmic Boy to just negotiate with Mordru, and everything will be right. But of course, Kono and the rest just can't sit there and do nothing. They need to get into it. And of course, Mordru can read people's minds or knows what's going on. And so he zaps everybody into a dream dimension where they have to relive their most horrific moments of their, well, I don't know if it's most horrific moments, but tragic moments in their life. So for example, Jonah wakes up in the belly of a space dragon, not a space whale, but specifically call it out. I'm in the belly of a space dragon. Whale. Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird?
It is, but they're also trying to get away from, some of the what is considered in the 90s to be the sillier aspects of the Legion. Jonah, swallowed by the whale, is a very whimsical golden age, well, not golden age, but early silver age touch. And by this point, it doesn't really fit. But you also find that while he's in the belly of the beast, he finds the desiccated body of Tinya, who we don't know what happened to Tinya.
No,
something happened.
These, and pretty soon, horrible. At least one of them figures out pretty quick that that this is Mordru's doing, and they know it's all just visions. Yeah, Cosmic Boy figures it out. And
it's cool, though, because Cosmic Boy is the one without any powers. He lost his powers at Venado Bay, where we see the first actual real glimpse of what happened there. And it's just this kind of a futuristic war as hell take. It feels very much like a lot of 80s narratives about Vietnam War veterans. You come out of it and it's trying to give us sort of a superhero science fiction take on post-traumatic stress disorder. And it works, but there's that moment where Mordru overplays his hand because he throws in the body of Magnetic Kid.
Right.
At which point, Rock is like, no, Venado Bay didn't kill Magnetic Kid. It killed Cosmic Boy.
Yeah.
And that is such a great line for me. And then, this issue has a bunch of first appearances and things, but
yeah, there's a couple one of the ones that is most interesting is we've seen this character on the cover, this giant furry monster guy. And you're sitting there going, who is this guy? Who is this? Who is Furball? Who is Furball? We get to see Dr. Gimmel looking at him and saying, hey, blah, 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 blah. And then we finally learn at the very end, oh, no, this is Timberwolf. Timberwolf's, we have talked before about how, I don't know if it's Giffen or if it was Shooter that was trying to show that Timberwolf kept like evolving, like his ears would get pointy and then his teeth would get more fang-like. And so the natural progression of whatever this issue is that he has is to turn for full werewolf or fur werewolf.
Fur werewolf. I remember reading this and going, oh, and it was like a punch in the gut.
Yeah, it is kind of, even now, reading it now, if you forget that and you're just like, oh, wait, okay. They've been having this character hang around. Moment. They had the character
and they've been treating him like a pet.
Yeah.
Kono did not ever know him as Bryn Londo, the lone wolf. She only knows him as Furball, the loyal 7-foot tall, pointy-headed pet. And so we've seen him mostly through Kono's point of view. But when you're like, this is Timberwolf, I'm like, oh. And of course, it is almost the 90s. So we do get the requisite rape and murder in Kono's backstory, which really, really bugs me. It feels very much like a yard too far for me.
Yeah.
But
we also get to see the real shape of the chameleon peoples, where it's basically the alien mother sprouting from the chest. So we do get to see those kinds of things, which is interesting. It is interesting. It does fill in a little bit of backstory about what's been going on with these characters and filling in some backstory on characters like Kona, who we don't know very much about. Of course, we know Cosmic Boy, what has happened to him. We know, that Jonah has been looking for his wife. There's just some things in here that it's just like, okay, we're rehashing a little bit to make sure that everybody's centered on this, but we have to do it for everybody because otherwise it wouldn't make sense in the overall grand scheme of the story.
And it does really allow them to like slip in the Timberwolf retcon. And even creepier, Mordru is still a sick MF because he forces Misa, his wife, to telepathically share the horrifying visions. So literally, he's torturing all of the Legionnaires present because the White Witch has to, well, she's no longer the White Witch. She actually has her original red hair back and skin tone, but she's forced to relive her friends' traumas with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
but while they're going through all of this torture, high above the planet, the Legion has brought a secret weapon. Red cape, bandana, short skirt. Well, actually, no skirt.
What? Well,
could it be
the anti-monitor punched that skirt right off her? I mean, what? Oh.
Could it be? No, it is not Supergirl. We'll discover who she is. We'll see who she is in the next issue. And then we also get to run back into Element Lad, who has been on his planet for 5 years, just protecting the planet and taking out anybody who is causing trouble or wants to steal any of the crystals. But fortunately, Rockfish and Bounty have made it there to have a conversation with him.
The quicker picker-upper. There is a very important panel in this issue because this is the first appearance of Bounty. And there is a moment in this issue where they're talking about, oh, well, we have to go. And, he used to be Element Lad. He won't kill you, will he? And Bounty says, Legionnaires have been known to lose their mind. And in the panel, she's looking at the reader.
She's not really. I looked at that. She's not really looking at the
She is
the reader.
spiking the camera. Okay.
No, her eyes need to be shifted a little bit closer.
It's a moment where it's meant to call out her line. Legionnaires have been known to crack up. Put a pin in that. 6 or 7 issues from now, that's going to mean something.
Well, we've already seen Mon-El crack up thanks to what's his name, Laurel Gand or whatever his name is.
Eltro.
Yeah. I don't know. They've all got it.
Dude,
it's so silly. We'll find a little bit
Bounty
about
and
them.
Celeste. Bounty and Celeste are also traveling with a Daily Planet reporter named Devlin Orion. Sure, it's only 20 miles to Planet Trom. Devlin Orion. Oh, and if you ever said to yourself, who's the most useless character in the history of the entire Legion of Superheroes? Boy, it's not Dream Girl, nor is it Block. And I can hear you out there saying Block. And
Dream Girl.
That's not right.
Yeah. Also, apologies to all of our Irish.
Devlin Orion.
Here's the thing. There's this thing where people are like, oh, do you guys remember Jan era? And they're like, yeah, kind of. And if you think about it, you sit there and go, well, it's only been 5 years. Of course, how could people forget who Element Lad was? But again, I would point to people and say, look around you right now and look how much gaslighting, rewriting of history, just people forgetting what happened the first time and they did it again. And it is very easy for people to completely forget who Element Lad was, even if he was one of the president of the Legion of Superheroes multiple times. Even if he was a hero, the lone survivor of his planet, it's very easy to forget. And I know a lot of people sit there and go, how can people forget that Jedi existed? It's only been 20 years. 20 years is a lifetime for people to grow up and basically be gaslit to believe that none of this stuff is important or the information is being suppressed. In fact, there's a comment where one of them, when they're on the planet, bought a holotape for like 30 credits, and it's like a 1-minute history of Element Lad. And it's just like, people forget this stuff. That's why when you go on YouTube and you see some of the dumbest videos about, I bet you didn't know about this thing that happened 3 years ago. And it's like, how can people not know this thing happened 3 years ago? And then you have to remember, it's very easy for people to forget this stuff in both this day and age and 1,000 years in the future.
Yeah. I mean, 5 years ago, who was suddenly in the news? Rebecca Gompertz, I know, was in the news. And, you have these things that will happen. If we talk about somebody who is out of the public eye, like Shia LaBeouf. What's Shia LaBeouf up to? As far as we know, Shia LaBeouf is off on a planet eating people.
He was just in a movie last year.
Yeah, but it wasn't very good. Nobody saw it. But here's the thing. That's kind of what happens with Element Lad. People haven't gone to Trom, and it's become this big game of telephone where they're like, oh, he's this mad person living by himself and on this dead planet. And if you touch the Sarens, which are the crystallized remains of his fellow people, he'll vaporize you. And then he shows up and he's like, oh, so I'm vaporizing people now? Okay. And you're like, oh, right. This is Element Lad. He used to have the big curly hair and a pink suit.
Yep. So, some interesting things are afoot, and we'll find out even more revelations in the next issue.
If you enjoy the show, we would appreciate your support. You can find out more and become a Legion Clubhouse member at patreon.com/major spoilers.
So issue 7 is somewhat frustrating because there are 2 pages of just block of text of this conversation between Cosmic Boy and Mordru. Meanwhile, the rest of the Legion have been taken to a dungeon cell that they will eventually have to break out of. But before we get to that block of text, which it's fine, I don't know if it's super necessary. It's fine. But we do get to find out who is this woman who has mysteriously lost her red cape. It is Laurel Gand, a.k.a. Andromeda. So this is her first appearance in the Legion of Superheroes.
Andromeda for several years yet, but okay.
What's that? Well, I mean, she won't be Andromeda. She won't be Andromeda, but for people who have read future books and know the Adam Hughes just loved to draw her of all of the Legion characters. Adam Hughes would draw her a lot. And the Moy brothers would as well, and other people. So, this is the first appearance of Laurel Gand, and a.k.a. Andromeda, a.k.a. Supergirl, I guess. Another attempt to erase... I don't know how this works, because Daxam exists in this reality, but Mon-El was from a pocket dimension of Daxam.
But not anymore.
Anymore. Yeah, it's so weird.
Punched out reality last issue, or an issue before. And so they reset reality. The time trapper never existed. There never was a pocket universe. And we haven't gotten to it yet because of the way they were trying to. Keith at the same time was writing the Legion 90 series.
Yeah. 89, 90, 91.
Yeah, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94. I think it goes all the way into 94.
Did he write the whole series?
He wrote the beginning of it.
Okay.
I think he was a consulting creator, like going out into it. But I can't remember now if it fell to Tom Pyre or somebody else. But he had essentially created it as a 20th century book to try and fill in the gaps without the Superman mythos and without the 1,000 years of history, literally 1,000 years of the DC universe, not like going into the future. But it is the thing.
Yeah. So this issue, beyond the 2 pages of Cosmic Boy and Mordru having a conversation, it is basically a smack-down, drag-out fight between Laurel Gand and the mysterious vampire dude. And it's pretty brutal. It's pretty intense. It's interesting to see how powerful this character is. Both characters, I guess I should say, for this. And I think the end result where they're just like, no, this is not going to be a one-on-one fight. We're all going to chip in, and then Mordru and Cosmic Boy come to I don't know, a negotiation where he's
a diplomatic agreement.
Yeah, where Mordru's basically like, yeah, okay, you guys can go and we'll fight another day, maybe. The end.
Well, and Mordru has a choice as someone who wants to pretend to be a legitimate leadership force. He can either allow the illusion of weakness by letting the Legionnaires go, or allow the expectation that he is evil and corrupt and keeping and torturing the Green Lantern and torturing the White Witch. And, basically saying, Mordru, if you do this, I will just let everybody know what you're doing. And then you'll have to deal not just with us, but the court of public opinion. You won't be able to hold the control of this planet that you seemed to hold so dear. I honestly feel like the 9-panel grid is perfectly used here, because fight, 9-panel grid. Kono running around in a little basque and being mad at everybody for seeing her in it. But then you cut to Rock and Mordru, and it feels like the story stops and focuses, and it's just this mind game, this little Batman gambit between the artist formerly known as Cosmic Boy and someone who was once the most powerful, insane, wizard in the universe. And they're having this very adult, and I feel like in this case, adult in the right way, conversation, where they're trying to take all of these new bits and pieces of reality and all of this new story that isn't, kids in tights and people calling themselves lads and lasses. This is something, Game of Thronesy, for lack of a better word. Mordru wants to maintain control. He wants to be seen as the legitimate king or whatever he is of Tharn.
Yeah, really.
And Cosmic Boy is just like, well, it'd be a shame if something was to happen to your nice little planet here, Mr. Mordru. And it's lovely because you do get to see why, even though he's got no powers, even though there are no flight rings, even though, everything is gone, no cruisers yet, no nothing, Cosmic Boy, even without any magnetism, is still the leader of this team. He is still a Legionnaire and a force to be reckoned with. I
think there's a bigger force to be reckoned with, and that's Misa when she totally evaporates the space vampire. But it's not clear. God. It's not clear. Does she stick around with Mordru, or does she go back with the rest of the Legion?
I believe Misa does leave with the Legionnaires. I would have to go back into. I think issue 8 actually is another times past issue, for lack of a better word. But yeah, Misa does eventually hang out with the Legionnaires. One thing that I think this story does show us is everybody has been through some changes. I mean, Supergirl is now a completely different woman, like a foot taller. And then you ask yourself, why is she so interested in Ron Vidar? Why is she so interested in Ron Vidar? And we don't find out that for a while. But as this story goes, we find out that the White Witch may have been a kind, thoughtful hero. The wife of Mordru either cannot or will not control her powers, and she just blows him to... It's beautiful. And it's another example of...
Green Lantern is headed back to his Green Lantern world.
Well, what is that, you ask? What is that Lantern. Weird green force?
Yeah, it's Green Lantern.
Is it? Are you sure?
They rescued Ron Vidar, so...
They destroyed his Green Lantern ring, though. We watched Mordru crush it in his bare hands several issues.
Remember, you don't necessarily need a ring. It's the will inside of you which generates your power. So,
at this point in time, you do in fact need a ring.
No, this is the future. So that is already, all that stuff has already come to pass.
Well, it may be the future, but it's also the past.
Yep. And we are past time for this week's episode. So thank you for downloading and checking us out, everyone. Again, head over to the Legion Clubhouse channel on our Discord server. A lot of really good people like Will DeGray and Jimbo Fett and Simon Del Monte are hanging out there with some really good conversations about the 5 Year Later Legion, some good thoughts on the 5 Year Later Legion, and there's a good discussion going on where someone asked, hey, if there were to be a new Legion series now, who would write it? I threw out my suggestion that it was going to be Alex Segura because of what he said or what he was doing previously by reading through all of the 5 Year Later Legion and then going back and reading from the beginning of the Legion. It just feels like that's somebody who's doing a lot of research for something coming up. But I'm gonna hold that there. I would actually, who I would really like to see do Legion of Superheroes? Gail Simone and Bill Quist-Evely. I think that would be a really good duo to do.
That would be fun.
The Legion of Superheroes. Now, I don't know Bill Quist-Evely. She's a great artist, but I don't know if she would be able to keep up with the pace of a monthly stuff. I think she has to work really far ahead. But if you want to go, she did a backup story probably a decade ago of the Legion of Superheroes, and it was fantastic, and her art was fantastic, perfect for the Legion stuff. But dear listeners, head over to the Discord server, share your thoughts. Who do you want to write a new Legion story? Join it for free. And until next time, when we find out exactly what's going on with Laurel Gand, keep reading comics, I guess.
The Legion Clubhouse is a production of Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC, and is produced by Steven Schleicher. Your hosts were Matthew Peterson and Steven Schleicher. You can follow Matthew at Mighty King Cobra and Steven at Major Spoilers. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Legion Clubhouse. If you have questions or comments, send them to podcast@majorspoilers.com. I'm Jason Inman. Until next time, eat it, Grandpa.
This podcast is copyright 2025 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.